Kawhi Leonard, Daryl Morey and the 76ers front office kicking the tires for Kawhi Leonard. I was absolutely shocked. We'll get into how this could be a little bit of a PR campaign on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network out there. Keith Pompey sitting right there, longtime 76ers beat writer. Marc Farzetta over here, longtime Philly sports talker with you in the city of brotherly love. We're going to talk about possible concern for VJ Edgecombe. We're going to talk about possibility of more minutes for Jabari Walker after the last two games. How about that? And also the lead story today, Keith. And I got to say, your take on this is my most favoritist take I have heard so far on Kawhi Leonard. It gets put out there, and I'll read I'll read it aloud to the classroom here. This is by way of NBA Central per Kevin O'Connor. Quote, executives have said that the Sixers were actively making calls pre-deadline, though nothing seemed remotely close. Some sources suggest that Morey was star hunting, there's that phrase again, with Kawhi Leonard being a name that was connected to Philadelphia, but nothing happened. So Embiid, Maxey, and the team saw McCain get dealt, the tax get ducked, and no pieces brought in to help. My, oh my. First off, your interpretation of this story, Keith Pompey.
Well, Daryl Morey has always been a guy who was doing star hunting, right? He always has. Now, the thing is, most general managers, they call out and say, hey, what is it going to take to get this guy? But who do the 76ers have to get Kawhi Leonard? I mean, Paul George, they didn't want to re-sign Paul George. They just didn't, right? Now Paul George is on a suspension. So right now, Kawhi Leonard's an all-star. Paul George is on a suspension. Or do you really think that they're going to take PG back? Okay, nope. Well, what about Joel Embiid? Okay, so what about Joel? So right now we're looking at Joel. Yeah, Joel was playing ball, playing happy. I mean, playing at a high level at that particular time. But he has 3 years and 190 plus million left. Do you really think if they're rebuilding, they're going to take Joel? Right? Nope. So VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey are untouchable, right? Everybody knows that. So my thing is, it sounds like it wasn't never close to happening, but it comes out now, and believe me, I got a lot of respect for Kevin O'Connor, a lot of respect, and I respect his reporting, but to me, it's kind of weird that the fans are upset with Josh Harris. The fans are ready to get rid of Daryl Morey right now. And because they felt like the whole trade deadline was all about slashing salary to get underneath the cap. And now we hear about, they were going after Kawhi Leonard. There was no way in heck they could have got Kawhi Leonard. They had not enough assets to get Kawhi Leonard. And not only that, why would you get Kawhi Leonard if you know you got a future with Maxey and Edgecombe? And they're the only two people that people want, right, at this particular time. So to me, it's one of those things that gets out there and it makes it seem like that, you know what, it's not what everybody thinks it was. We were working hard. We were trying hard. We were trying to upgrade this team. Now, but again, Paul George left there because they didn't want to pay him. He's also on a suspension. Joel Embiid was playing great, but he has 3 years, $193 million plus on his contract. Believe me, they weren't trying to take him for Paul George. For Kawhi. They were not trying to do that. So, you know what? And again, think about it. The 76ers, they've been trying to go after people. I mean, they always say, hey, what will it take to get this? And people say they'll come out with this crazy number of people that they want. I mean, things that they want. I'm not feeling it. I'm not.
Okay.
All
right. So here's the world I live in. This is the way. And first off, the idea that you have there of Jared McCain gets dealt, people are feeling bad, everybody's angry. Morey, everyone wants Morey gone. The Sixers could already have his replacement in-house, as a matter of fact. The Nick Nurse supporters are dwindling by the second. And people are very conflicted. Not even conflicted. People just don't like the 76ers right now. So all of a sudden, this story comes out. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And again, all respect to Kevin O'Connor and his reporting and all that. I respect him as well. But I wouldn't be shocked if he heard from another executive outside the 76ers that, oh, yeah, the Sixers were even calling on Kawhi, but nothing happened. Because is it really that far-fetched to think any general manager would want Kawhi Leonard? Obviously not. That's not far-fetched. And then maybe you go to the 76ers and you say, hey, were you really making calls on Kawhi Leonard? Absolutely we were. Anything to spin the story with, hey, yeah, we got rid of Jared McCain. And Morey even said at his press conference at the trade deadline, after the trade deadline, that, yeah, we wanted to make another move, but nothing materialized. Maybe this is the move that didn't materialize, although it was extremely far-fetched. Maybe this is the move he thought would materialize. Because the only thing that would make sense to me here, Keith, and the story even says, and I'll highlight this as well. He says Leonard being named was a name that was connected to Philadelphia, but nothing happened. So Embiid, Maxey, and the team saw McCain get dealt. Does that imply to you, as it does to me, that maybe this is a deal that they initially tried to make before the McCain deal? Or do you think this is a deal they tried to make after the McCain deal with their first-round pick and then also having those 3 other second-round picks that they got from OKC?
You know, I don't know, because the thing is, he did say like they could stay over the tax if he was able to get a top flight type of player, right? Okay. So that could have been that. But basically, it said nothing happened, right? So nothing happened, meaning that, I mean, you know, were they just preliminary discussions? Was it one of those things where you call the Clippers and you say, hey, we're interested in Kawhi. What would it take? And the Clippers like, no, we're not getting rid of Kawhi. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's extremely vague. Now, again, did they call him? Yeah, I believe that they called about Kawhi. But my thing is, what do you really have that the Clippers want that other people don't want? And believe me, you know, you getting a late first round and 3 second rounds for Kawhi Leonard, that ain't happening. Yeah, that's not happening, right? It's just not happening. So I don't think that it was ever as close as everybody, you know, as people think. And what the guy, he just did his reporting. He said what it was, but I don't think it was as close as everybody, you know, picking it up said it was. But nothing happened. You know what I mean?
Nothing seemed remotely close. is the close.
That's so I know that it's like it's just a matter of you. Like for instance, what they say is, now you got to realize something. Mm-hmm. When you realize that the Clippers are willing to trade James Harden and they're willing to trade other people, well, yeah, you got to do your due diligence and call and ask about Kawhi. Mm-hmm. What will it take to get Kawhi? Are y'all trying to get rid of him? That's what you do. That's what GMs and presidents of basketball operations do. That's their job.
Hey,
when he came out and said nothing got remotely close, nah.
Yeah, Keith, I'll tell you this right now. I kind of like Ferraris. Every once in a while, I like to look at a Ferrari. But guess what I ain't getting? I ain't getting a Ferrari, because when you look in the bank account and you see a Joel Embiid, you see a Paul George, who they already weren't going to pay. You don't see a lot of first-round picks. You ain't getting Kawhi Leonard, all right? That's not the way that's going, unfortunately. But, hey, look, all this does for me is it says what any story that surrounds a GM and a star athlete, they did their job. They kicked the tires. Again, not remotely close. I'm just curious to see if this was the deal that they wanted to do before Jared McCain or after Jared McCain, because as we all know, what this team has been without Jared McCain has been not such a great basketball team, unfortunately. And I know I'm with a lot of other people. I know you don't like the deal either, but we're in the world now of Jared McCain no longer being with the Philadelphia 76ers and having a nice little run over there with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who only happen to be the defending champion. So there's that. The Sixers did win a basketball game last night. You might even call it a bounce-back win. I'm going to propose a little theory about Nick Nurse and some players like Jabari Walker when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Back after this. And right now, it's time to tell you about 5-Hour Energy. Boy, oh boy, did it look like the Sixers got a little shot of 5-Hour Energy last night, especially in the last 3 minutes of the game against the Utah Jazz. But 5-Hour Energy wants to tell you all about their brand new flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, Cotton Candy. You know, I like cherry does happen to be one of my favorites. Grape. I'm pretty standard on the grape. Love the grape flavor when it comes to the 5-Hour Energy. The board is set with the flavor draft. Which one is yours? They'll break it all down at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.com, where you guys can get your orders of 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy shots give you the boost with zero sugar. 5-Hour Energy has a lot of unbelievable flavors and innovations planned, by the way. Flavors that are absolutely delicious with, again, zero sugar. Talk about all the things that they offer right now, including grape, berry, cherry, Fruity Rainbow, you heard me mention, the cotton candy. Oh, fantastic. And how about this? You like mango? How about peach mango? Tropical burst? They got it all. 5-Hour Energy. And rising up the seating for me is the delicious strawberry watermelon flavor, sweet and tart. Candy-like flavor. 5-Hour Energy's got you covered for that great flavor, zero sugar, and great energy boost. So once again, check out 5hourenergy.com to order yours now. That's 5hourenergy.com or order them on Amazon. And how about the Everydayer Club? Hopefully you guys are subscribing and liking Locked On 76ers. But how about this? How about ad-free episodes of Locked On 76ers and membership to the Discord service? Part of the Everydayer Club. Go to LockedOn76ers.supercast.com to sign up to be a part of the Dayer Club. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta, Locked On 76ers. Keith, they win the game last night, 106-102. We've talked about wins like this in the past. We talked about this as a win, like the win over the Pacers. Okay, you beat a bad basketball team. Well, on that same road trip, they lost to a bad basketball team in the New Orleans Pelicans. This time around, they had the Jazz in front of them. They had no Kelly Oubre. We know that they had no Joel Embiid, no Paul George. VJ Edgecombe is a scratch because of the lower back injury. We'll talk about his concern going forward. But they come out, and they actually lose control of this game for a part there in the third quarter and parts of the fourth quarter. Never was a blowout. Never looked like they were going to lose the game, but they looked like a team that was definitely offbeat versus the Jazz. Jabari Walker had himself a great game. Tyrese Maxey was good down the stretch. But Quentin Grimes and Adem Bona came up with some big plays for this Sixers team. When you see them come away with a 106-102 win against an 18-win Jazz team, what do you take away from it?
You really can't take much away from it, to be honest with you. But the one thing that I think that it helps with them is it could just build some confidence for a guy like Jabari Walker, right? It builds confidence for Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes finally played the way that you expected him to play. Like, he was aggressive, right? Jabari looks at it, the big confidence boost is, he had 20 points the night before in the blowout loss to the Spurs. It looked like, okay, bro, you was just good in garbage time. But then you come out and you started off 4 for 4, making threes in the first half, right? Now, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well in the second half, but he still grabbed rebounds. He made some quality plays. So for me, it looks like you're showing the coaches that you can get perhaps more minutes. But as you alluded to, it was one of these games that when you look at it, you say to yourself that you're playing a tanking team. This game is in the balance. And then all of a sudden, Utah Jazz forgot how to play ball in the fourth quarter. Kevontae George, all of a sudden he can't make shots anymore. No one else in the starting lineup was able to score a point in the fourth quarter, right? So, it's one of those things where for the 76ers, a win is a win. But to me, the biggest thing for the 76ers are that, like, okay, Quentin, this is what you got to do. Okay, Jabari, this is what you got to do. And then you say Tyrese Martin, you gave him an extended look, and you can see that hopefully that he can maybe able to contribute for this team. But again, it came against the Utah Jazz, one of the worst teams in the league, and they were just like the Sixers were out a lot of key players. It was the same thing with the Jazz.
Yeah, I certainly hate the phrase "a win is a win" because, oh, you won, it's all good. No, I mean, if you break it down, some wins are better than other wins.
Yeah.
But even Nick Nurse said after the game, it doesn't matter. Like, they got to pick wins where they could pick wins. They got to pick off wins where they could pick off wins. And last night, I mean, in all honesty, Keith, if the Sixers played this season with no Joel Embiid, no Paul George, no VJ Edgecombe, no Kelly Oubre, all right, how many wins do you think they have? 18 wins? Do you think they have 20 wins this season? Because I would venture to guess they'd be right around that 20 win mark at this point in the season, like the Utah Jazz are. Because the team I just described is not a very good basketball team. You might see actually Tyrese Maxey with the minutes he's playing averaging 35 points a game if he had to play for a team like that throughout the entire year, at least to this point this year. So for me, this is more than just a win over the Jazz. It's a win that the Sixers needed, especially after setting the NBA record for most times blown out by 40 or more points at home in a single season. This is the rare example of I don't care. A win is a win. You had too many internal problems to overcome before you even had to worry about beating the opponent across the court from you, and the Sixers were able to do it. It wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. If you would have told me going into this game that George was going to go off for, 30 points in last night's game, 15 of those coming in the third quarter, and the Sixers have another terrible third quarter against a team like the Jazz, but they still find a way to win, I'm happy about that. Because it's all about the W at this point, especially when you don't have PG, you don't have VJ Edgecombe, you don't have Joel Embiid, and you don't even have Kelly Oubre in your starting lineup. So for me, I look at it as, hell yeah, they needed this win. And I don't care that it was a 4-point win against a bad basketball team, because right now, with the roster given and the coaching we've watched throughout the year, unfortunately, the Sixers aren't that good a basketball team. I think they got much better shot at being a better basketball team down the stretch than the Jazz, don't get me wrong, but that would also imply that the roster is actually more available than what we've seen in recent games.
Yeah, I think the true barometer of how good this 76ers team is right now is not what they did against the Spurs, not what they did against Utah. Is going to come and see what they do the next game against the Hawks, right? A Hawks team that they have yet to beat, right? So to me, it's one of those things whereas, it's kind of tough because, my thing is, how many of these players who played last night are going to be in the rotation, the regular rotation?
Right.
It was one of those things where Nick Nurse even said that lineup that he started with, he really didn't like that lineup when they had him out there before, right? It worked out for him. The thing is, guys stepped up. They played well. Jabari Walker got an opportunity to show what he can do. He did it. The same thing with Tyrese Martin. But moving forward, how are the 76ers going to respond? Because are they as bad as they were against the Spurs? No, right? When they played, it was a must-win game that they won. They won. They came out, they came back, and they won the game. Utah, they're playing against a tanking team. Thing about Utah is, yes, they played Denver tight. They played other teams tight. But let's keep it 100, y'all. If y'all think the Denver Nuggets was going in there thinking like, yo, this is going to be a tough one, we're going to do this. No, they were asleep. They fell asleep at the wheel, and then they had to, they woke up and swerved and missed the tree real quick, right? That's how they won the game. So let's just see what the 76ers can do moving forward and see how they play. Because, yes, this is right. A win is not a win. I'll give you that. I said a win is a win, but this was a win that probably keeps them ahead of everybody through the weekend, right? Through the weekend. But what happens is now they got a tough stretch coming up. So we'll see how it is. We'll also see who's going to be available, right? And that's the main thing with the Sixers. Who is available? But I'm not about to anoint them and say, they played great because they beat one of the worst teams in the league. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not going that far with it either. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I will say this because I teased this before we hit the break there. It definitely feels like whether it's Justin Edwards or in this case, Jabari Walker, Nick Nurse has these guys that will play well for a stretch. Then they struggle a little bit. And then Nick Nurse totally forgets they exist. And then something happens where all of a sudden you need Jabari Walker. And it's like, oh, yeah, I have this guy. I forgot I gave up on him. And I think the ultimate example of that is Jared McCain. But Justin Edwards came in early in that Spurs game, and we even talked about him as a guy that had stepped up and knocked down a couple of threes for the Sixers against the Boston Celtics some time ago now. Not in the most recent game, obviously, but before that. Where if he doesn't come in and actually lead your team in scoring, you probably lose that game to the Celtics. Jabari Walker comes in the fourth quarter 2 nights ago against the Spurs. And yeah, as you alluded to, absolutely garbage time. But somebody had to play. Somebody had to get the opportunity. Jabari Walker got the opportunity. He made the most of it. And what was so impressive to me is that garbage time for Jabari Walker, he carried right into this game against the Jazz. And as you mentioned, 4 for 4 in the first quarter for the Sixers, the first half for the Sixers to help get them the lead at halftime. And help them actually look like a team that, maybe they can keep their head above water in a game like this, where they should basically do what they should do. Jabari Walker was a big part of that. The other thing here, and I'll get your comment on that in a second, but the other thing is Jabari Walker's day. Did you hear how it started yesterday, Keith?
Yeah, when he scratched his car. Yeah.
Jabari, for those that didn't hear this, Jabari Walker was asked about, I think it was the fourth three that he knocked down, and he skipped down the court, okay? He was very happy. He felt like he was in the zone. I'm sure a lot of people watch. I know you played ball. I played ball growing up. Everyone watching, I hope you know that feeling of just all of a sudden being in the zone where you can't miss. So he feels like he's in the zone. He can't miss. And he's skipping down the court. He's sashaying down the court, right? His day started buying a new car. And he said like 30 minutes after buying the car, he scratched it. And he went into the arena thinking, I can't believe I just scratched my new car. Damn it. Oh my God. Oh man. And then somebody said to him, yeah, you had a bad day, but you're going to have a great night. And that's exactly what he did, Keith. He had himself a great night. Now, before we take the next break, does it make any sense to you, or do you get the same vibe or same feeling I get that Nick Nurse has these players that he gives up on rather quickly? I mean, you saw a guy like Jabari Walker averaging like eight minutes a game through February. All right. Now, all of a sudden, he's got back-to-back 20-point games. I know injury factors into that a great deal, but it certainly feels like Nick Nurse has his guys that he rides when they're hot and then quickly to turn over and move on to the next guy.
I think it's kind of tough because, it's one of those things where you have a rotation, right? And like, yeah, Jabari is getting the opportunities now, but then when you ask yourself, okay, would you rather have him on the floor more so than Joel Embiid? Then Paul George, then Barlow doesn't really close out games or Kelly Oubre, right? So I think that's what it comes down to, when it comes to him. And then, so yeah, he is producing, he does step up, but I think that when you got your regular rotation, that's part of the problem, right? Yeah. It's just, can you get consistent minutes? Now, again, he stepped up and he had, 20 and 22. This is only the 5th time he's done that, right?
First time ever, though, in his career, he's had back-to-back 20-point games.
Exactly. So before that, he's only had 3 games throughout his whole career that he's done something like this. And then he had back-to-back. So it's kind of hard. Now, what he's doing is he's taking advantage of the opportunity and he's showing that what he could do. So it may work out for him moving forward, but then you go with it and you say to yourself, PG's playing power forward too. You know what I mean? We got Kelly Oubre who could go small ball forward in certain lineups. So, but right now he's showing what he can do. I just felt like it was just hard for him to get consistent minutes when the team is fully healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. All right, Sixers right now, as you mentioned, they play this weekend against the Hawks. We'll get into that game coming up in a second. As of right now, there's still a game ahead of the Heat and the Magic for the sixth and final regular playoff spot before the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. All right, we'll also talk about VJ Edgecombe when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. And right now, it's time to tell you about the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Being at the NBA arena, oh, nothing like it. Being at the concert, being at the comedy show, nothing like it. Gametime app can help you with all of it. Gametime app is where it's at, so make sure you go to Gametime app for your tickets. All-in pricing up front, so you know exactly what you're spending before you hit checkout. And also, you can view your seat's vantage point before you buy the tickets. You're taking the guesswork out of buying tickets, whether it's NBA tickets, whether it's a concert, whether it's a comedy show, baseball around the corner. Gametime's got you covered. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. So download the Gametime app today. And how about TurboTax? Oh, 'tis the season, folks. It's time. Tax time, that is. But for all of us, the old way of doing things is, well, a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with stacks of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if you're really going to get the most out of your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax has in-person locations nationwide, so you can meet face-to-face with real tax experts. And your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. TurboTax Expert works to get you every dollar that you deserve while you're getting a real-time notification as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local. That's TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment at TurboTax.com. Keith, any concern here about VJ Edgecombe? Didn't hear a lot about it from Nick Nurse yesterday, other than the fact that he wasn't going to play in the game. Contusion, lower back. How much of a concern is this?
You know what, we would like to get more information on it. But at the same time, the fact that he was sitting on the bench and he looked like he wasn't in a lot of pain or in pain at all. To me, that's a good sign, because it's probably, no one is saying anything about it, but I'm assuming that it's a moderate situation with him. But with that being said, that's kind of like when you have a moderate, lumbar contusion, that's one of those things where it could be 1 week to 2 weeks rest, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas the other one he could be out for like a month, right? So, yeah. But to me, the fact that I saw him on the bench with his teammates, the fact that you saw him after the game walking over there talking to, guys on the opposing team and standing up, even towards the end of the game, standing up and smiling and stuff like that. To me, that's a good sign. It's a good sign. But, it's one of those things where you also have to be careful with it because you don't want him slipping and falling again. And then all of a sudden, he's in a worse situation than he is now, right? So to me, the fact that we saw him on the bench, the fact that he was laughing and joking, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I want to get more into the Hawks game tomorrow for Friday's show, but the other injury bullet maybe the Sixers have dodged here when you talk about like lumbar injury for VJ Edgecombe, talking about whether or not it could be a couple days, whether or not it could be a month. Same thing with the oblique injury. When you talk about an oblique strain, officially that's what Joel Embiid has, although it might be a mild strain. If you're only going to reevaluate him in a few days, like was the original plan, then all right, that makes me believe, as I know we talked about yesterday, it's more mild than what it could be. The Sixers might have dodged a bullet here in two injuries that have a tendency to linger with some athletes over time. But it looks like good news is on the horizon when it comes to VJ and hopefully for Joel Embiid, and we'll know that in the not too distant future. Have you seen anything regarding Joel Embiid as to getting reevaluated in the next few days?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, he's supposed to get reevaluated in the coming days, possibly even today, right? Mm-hmm. Because they said what they were going to do is he's going to miss the next 3 games. It was the 3 games, and then he'll get reevaluated. So, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he's able to play on, Saturday. And I think this is a good time for both of them because, like we talked about, Joel is one of those things you look at it and you say, okay, you're going to miss these 3 games. We don't play again until 6 o'clock on Saturday against, Atlanta. So you may be able to play in that game if everything goes well. The fact that both of these guys are on the bench and with their team is a good sign. Now, the problem with Joel is with the rest, you don't want him twisting. You don't want him doing all these other things. If he's out there playing, he's going to twist, right? And then let's get back to VJ. So let's just say he has a strain. The recovery time typically takes 1 to 4 weeks with proper rest and care, right? So within most individual experience, it's a significant improvement within that time. Now, if it was a more severe or a herniated disc, that will require 6 to 12 weeks. Now, I'm not a doctor, but if I felt like if he had a herniated disc, and I've had back problems, it's hard for you to sit still or sit down in that chair for an extended period of time and be comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking what he has is more moderate. And with Joel, yes, he's probably getting reevaluated today. If not today, tomorrow. But I believe he's probably getting reevaluated today, and then they'll move forward with it.
Fair enough. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. This is Locked On 76ers. Sixers back at it. Don't forget, folks, 6 o'clock tip-off on Saturday, so don't miss that one, a little earlier than normal. Taking on the Atlanta Hawks, who they have struggled against mightily this season. 0 for 3 against the Hawks this year. Final matchup Saturday, 6 o'clock. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. Like and subscribe, Locked On 76ers. We appreciate you guys joining us here. So don't forget to sign up to be a part of the Everydayer Club at LockedOn76ers.supercast.com. Catch you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.